praying that daddy doesn't come to the door and continue the vicious cycles from the nights before. See, to the daughter, the boogeyman, he's real. He's paying all the bills. Mama's lips are sealed. The girl's heart is filled with fear. Shadows cross the door. Why does my daddy hurt me? I'm tired of feeling sore. The doorknob turns slowly. Her heart is beating fast. She tried screaming before, but still he trusts past. I want my mama to help me. Is it because she hates me? Because if she really loved me, she wouldn't let him rape me. And her eyes filled with tears as she told me her story. So I held her in my arms and told her not to worry, because daddy's at the door, but not the one you hate, the one who really loves you and will help you to escape. And if you let him in, you'll be alone no more. It's finally time to smile, because daddy's at the door. I want to welcome everybody to Poetry Behind the Lines, where what we'll be doing is taking a look at a poem, doing some background, and then also some breakdown of the poems themselves, along with some extra commentary. My name is Quade. The backstory to that poem, it came about where I was in college, and just college, had some free time, flicking through TV, and I flicked over to this talk show for some reason. I stopped on this talk show, and I remember there was this lady talking about what had happened to her as a little girl, and I didn't even, for some reason, when she didn't even finish the story in my mind before it just started happening, and it was kind of the difference between sympathy and empathy. So I really felt like I was in that moment that she was mentioning, that she was talking about. And my reaction to that was just to pick up a pen and really just start to try to write my way out of this situation, out of what pain she was feeling, out of the fear that she was feeling, etc. And as I started writing a little more and a little more, I felt like I was getting out of it a little more and a little more, until I actually started and looked at the finished work, and that's when I started to really feel that relief. So it started off saying, praying that daddy doesn't come to the door. What's interesting about that to me is that it's the opposite of what you would think. So like most people would want to pray that a father comes. A father is a sign of protection, so on and so forth. And so for it to say praying that daddy doesn't come to the door, to me kind of creates an odd suspense as far as what that reason could be. So when it goes and continues the vicious cycles from the nights before. So we know now at this point that it's something that has happened time and time again, that she knows, for example, what's going to happen. And her hope is that it doesn't happen again like it happened again. And just kind of building that image. So from her perspective, so like to the daughter, the boogeyman, he's real. And not only is he paying all the bills, mama's lips are sealed, and the girl's heart is filled with fear. So he's paying all the bills, and not only that, but her other protector, which should be her mother, is also not protecting her. So mama's lips are sealed. So she has an awareness, the mother has an awareness of what's going on. But at the same time, she's not helping stop the tragedies that are taking place in the daughter's life. So the girl's heart is filled with fear. Now we come back to the imagery of shadows crossing the door. And from a little girl's perspective, why does my daddy hurt me? I'm tired of feeling sore. And then I was thinking about just kind of continuing that image, that doorknob turning slowly, in the contrast of her heart beating fast. And in those moments, I'd imagine you would think, what can you do? What is the solution to this problem? She tried screaming before, but still he trespassed. Thinking about her protections again, why won't my mama help me? Is it because she hates me? Just trying to find a reason as to why this situation is going on the way that it's going on, almost with the silent permission of her mother. Because if she really loved me, she wouldn't let him rape me. And I know on that line, originally I wrote, she wouldn't let him take me. But I thought that for a poem of a topic of this magnitude, that it had to be very direct as far as what I was trying to get the audience to think about. So I had to use the word rape, which is a lot more, I'll say visceral. It's a lot more, it has a greater effect to the ear and to the mind as far as what's going on. It's a better image of the horror that's being taken place. And then we step out of that moment to her eyes filled with tears as she told me her story. And so I held her in my arms and told her not to worry. Why? Because Daddy's at the door, but not the one you hate. And so now it's that same image, that same line, Daddy's at the door, that one thing that caused her terror, the one thing that caused her trauma, the one thing that had such a horrible ripple effect in her life, that same line, Daddy's at the door, is now the key to the solution to the problems in her life. So Daddy's at the door, but not the one you hate, the one who really loves you and will help you to escape. And if you let him in, you'll be alone no more. And so the difference with if you let him in is that the first example of a father of Daddy's at the door was the actual dad was intruding. So he opened the door. The doorknob turned slowly. Her heart is beating fast. So she didn't want that door to be opened, but still he trespassed. Now with the inverse, with this other line, this other daddy that's at the door, if you let him in, you'll be alone no more. Because she was alone. She didn't have her mother there. Her mother wasn't there to protect her. The father was only there to abuse her. But with this daddy, if you let him in, you'll be alone no more. And it's finally time to smile, because Daddy's at the door. And so that's kind of the thought, the imagery, as far as what I was going through when I was listening to this lady's story, and just kind of the imagery that I wanted to try to portray from being in her vantage point, the girl's vantage point, from her own level of understanding as a child, and then also to a macro sense of what's actually going on in that family dynamic. And it's such a serious issue when you're talking about child sex abuse. Statistics show that it's children between ages 7 and 13 tend to be the most vulnerable, and that 3/4 of adolescents were abused by people that they know. So, I mean, this is a very present danger that goes on in all types of communities and in all different types of places. So I think that this poem for me is important, at least on those levels, being able to reach out and to extend at least an olive branch of hope, so to speak, to people who are going through or who have gone through those problems and those situations. Yeah, so this one is definitely for you guys. And it's been an honor to write it. I do not want to end this on I do want to thank you guys for hanging around with me for this first episode of Poetry Behind the Lines. Also, what I will say is I don't want to end it on a sad note. I don't want to say, I don't want to end it on a sad note. So one thing I want to do is I want to actually open you up to different poets as well, different poets and different people who have projects out, just to kind of spread the love and spread the awareness of other writers and impactful writers, at least to me, from my perspective. The first one has to be a poet by the name of Mr. True Love. He has a new book called The Love Life, and you can get that on mrtruelove.com. He's a great poet, very thought-provoking, and his works challenge you to think on a different level as far as society and as far as relationships are concerned. He also has another book called Here I Am, but the spelling of it is pretty slick. It's H-E-A-R-I-am. So if you ever get a chance to check those things out, mrtruelove.com. Thank you guys again for joining me. This is my first run at it, but but thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a good day.